Hi guys, and welcome to the first beginner's tutorial of creation of a car within Solidworks. Within this tutorial we'll be first creating the back brick here seen, the bottom floor plate brick and the front plate brick. Then we'll take all these parts into an assembly and also use already created parts to create this vehicle. So we'll add the wheels, the supports and the steering wheel in and bring all these in as into assembly in order to create this car. Okay, so to start off with, we'll be first creating the brick at the back here. So first of all, we'll close down that, minimize that. We can actually close that now because we don't need that. It's just to show you what's going on. Save document. Okay, so here's the brick we'll be creating first. And right, to start off with, first what we want to do is go to File, New, and we're brought up with a choice of options here. Here we've got Parts, Assemblies, Drawings. As I say, first we'll be creating the brick as a part file, and then we'll be taking all of the parts into an assembly to create the overall object. Drawings will be done later on at a later date in one of the further tutorials, and I will talk through that. But for now, we won't worry. We'll just click on Part and click OK. Right, here we have our user interface, which was discussed in an earlier tutorial. Before we start doing anything, the rule of thumb is first we must save the document, and we go File, Save. And right, we want to create a new folder within here. So if I go to my desktop, I'll right click, New Folder, and we'll call this Solidworks Car. There we go. And we double click on that now. Now we've got a new folder, and part 3 we will call Back Brick. Okay, nice and simple. Save as part type, save as type, and that is part, so SolidWorks part, and we click save. Okay, now we are ready to create our first part. So we go over and we will create our part not in the front plane but in the top plane. So we're going to extrude the part up. So we go right click on top plane and we click on this button here, which is sketch. When we hover over the top of an icon, it will tell us what it is. So here we have sketch, which is when we start create a sketch. Then we have show, zoom into selection, and normal too. So we want to select the sketch option. Click on that. Now we're ready in our top plane to start drawing the outline of our block. So if we go up here, we click down and go to the center rectangle, so that's up. Click on the arrow next to the rectangle tool and select center rectangle, and this will then allow us to create our rectangle as the block square. So making sure that we have our origin is viewable, so you can click on view and make sure that origins is selected. Then we can go on and we want to draw a rectangle from the origin. So we'll click there and click outwards. So as you can see, SolidWorks is drawing the rectangle from the origin. This is really important, guys. So that's making sure that we selected the center rectangle, and then this one, therefore, once we click on our origin, we'll draw the rectangle from the center point. Okay, so now we've done that, we can green tick the rectangle tool, and we can add some dimensions to the rectangle. So I'll go over here to Smart Dimension, click on that. Now I'll click here to add my first dimension. Now the block in real life is 16 millimeters, so I'll add a dimension of 16 millimeters there. Return, and then I will click here and again add another dimension of 16 millimeters. So therefore now our block is fully dimensioned 60mm. What we can do, if we want to bring down these, we can click on them, bring them down. Don't worry about these lines here, by the way, guys. They are nothing to do with the actual rectangle that we've drawn here, so that's not to worry. Okay, so next thing we want to do, now we've created that, we want to create our 3D object. So we want to use the what's called extrude tool to extrude upwards. So therefore we'll then create a 3D object, because at the moment this is just in 2D. So now we can go over to exit sketch. Now if you notice down here in what's called our history tree, our sketch has appeared. So what we can do, if we want to, is we can right click and go back into edit sketch if we've got any problems, say if one of those dimensions is wrong, but it's not. I just thought I'd show you that, just so you know you can always go back if you get something wrong. It's not a problem, and that's one of the beauties of Solidworks. Okay, so next we want to extrude up and create a 3D object, so we go click on extrude. Now it'll say select a plane on which to sketch the feature or cross section, or an existing sketch to use for the feature. We've already created our sketch, so all we have to do is go over here, select the sketch, and then we can extrude upwards. Okay. So we want to create this, and we will select 10mm for the height, green tick. Okay, fantastic. Now if we go back into the brick that we created before, we can notice, oops, sorry, that's not the one. You'll notice that it's hollow, and we've also got these 4 sections on here. So first off, we're going to create these 4 circles that on here on top of it here, and extrude upwards. So go back in, go back down to brick. Right, before I use the different planes to create, but we don't just have to create planes to create a sketch on. We can just select the face that we want to create a sketch on, like so, highlight it, right click on it, and go up to here and go sketch. So this will create a sketch on this top plane here. Okay, now another little trick within Solidworks is to press the spacebar, and then we can go to normal 2, which will bring this sketch plane into the window, so it's a lot easier to sketch on. Right, now I'm going to go up, once we're in our sketch, to the circle tool. Click on the circle tool. Now I'll click down here on the face, and I'll just draw a circle of any size, because we're going to use the Smart Dimension tool to give our circle radius dimension, and also to give it a distance from this edge and this edge. So go up to Smart Dimension tool, and then I'll first give a radius of diameter, of 4mm. So what I do is I selected the circle and green tick. So now we can see the dimensions of the circle have changed. And now I want to go and I select the centre of the circle and the top edge here, and I want to give that a dimension of 4mm as well, and again I want to give this dimension of 4mm. Okay, so we'll green tick that. Right, but before we could see that there was actually 4 of these, so rather than having to repeat this process over and over again, what we can use is the mirror tool. But to use the mirror tool, we need lines of symmetry. So if we go up here to where the line tool is, click down, there's an option called center line. So we use the center lines basically as our lines of symmetry, as opposed to a line tool. Because if we use the line tool, then it wouldn't allow us to extrude up, because the software would get confused. So instead we use a center line for any lines of symmetry, and this therefore will not interfere with the extrude. Okay, so I want to add 4 center lines just across the center. What we can do, if you saw there, sorry, I'll just do that one more time. If you saw what happened, if you go along this line, we can actually, if we hover over it, a yellow point will come up to show us the center point. So we select that center point, and we'll select that center point. Okay, now I'm going to go to the Mirror Entities tool, click on this, click Mirror, click this here, Mirror About. This is our, remember, select linear entity to mirror about. Okay, so this is our line of symmetry. We'll select there to get one over here, green tick that, and then once again go over to mirror entities and we'll select in here our two objects that we want to mirror, so this one and where we want to mirror it about, so this line here, like so, and then we can green tick that, and there we've got our 4 circles on the top there that we then want to extrude up. Okay, so once we've done that, we can exit out the sketch and look down here. Our sketch has been created just below our extrude. So we go to that. If you highlight that before and then we click on extrude, it'll automatically select that as our item that we want to extrude. Right, in our extrude, we've got our options to how high we want it to be extruded, so the depth here. So I want these to only be 2mm, so I'll click in here, delete that and select 2, and that will change our height to the correct height, like so. That's all looks good to me. Now we green tick to click OK. Okay, so now we've got our brick there. As what do we need to do now? We need to shell out this inner region here basically, and then we need to just add our circle brick. So if we go back into the last one, back brick, yeah, oops, sorry, brick. If we look at the bottom there, yeah, we need to create this extrude up here. So first off, in order to create that shell effect, there's a tool called shell that we can use. So we click on shell there, right, and then it will ask us to faces to remove. So we saw that this face down here was removed, so we click on that, show preview. At the moment it's not working. Why is that? Because the thickness that we require, which is here, 10mm, we only want it to be 1mm. So click there, 1mm, and there you'll see that, make sure that show preview is selected, that we can see this is what we want. Okay, so we've got a thickness of 1mm, which is represented up here. And the reason why I've selected this face is, if you see when I pick green tick, this face will be removed. Okay, so now we've got that option there. Great. Now we've only got one more thing to do now, and that's create our extrude down here. So if I right click on this face, as this is the face we want to be working off, right click, go sketch. Now remember what I said before, we click on the space bar and click normal too, so it just levels the sketch up to what I want. I'll click on there, go to circle sketch again, and I'll click with the center point here, moving up, green tick that, and now we'll just add a dimension to this. Hang on, I've just got to check the dimension of that. So evaluate. Sorry about this, guys. This is another tool that you can use within Solidworks, diameter 5.4. So I can check up on the dimensions that I've used. So that will be 5.4. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you, there's 2 ways of doing this. In this one I'll show you the slightly harder way than the longer route, but it's good just so therefore you can get to see the cut tool as well. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go feature, extrude this up, okay, so extruding the same way as before. Up 9mm, so green tick that.